Hi, my name is Colleen Myers. I'm a recovering judgmental church lady, and I'm glad you've joined me for this episode of the Smack Dab podcast, living smack dab in the center of God's will. Today, I'd like to share with you some lines from this book that I have just come to love so much. It's by Priscilla Shirer, and it's called Life Interrupted, Navigating the Unexpected. And I disciple a lot of kids that I meet through our ministry called Engage To Go Ministries, where we go to raves. That's where this generation is going, and so we're fulfilling the Great Commission in that way by going where they are. And we take older moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, and we go to these massive music festivals to share God's love, to share the gospel, to help kids in trouble and help those that we actually find in danger. God's allowed us to even break up some human trafficking attempts outside of these venues, and we just go, and our group of moms that the kids lovingly call rave moms now, they know us. This subculture has gotten to know us over the 16 years that we've been doing this, and so they call us rave moms, but we just look for ways to show God's love to them and serve them. Anyway, a lot of these kids that we meet we end up doing follow-up with them, and we offer discipleship, and we love to use a Bible app called Through the Word. It's an amazing Bible app that we use to disciple the kids that want that in their life. And sometimes when I'm discipling a young lady, we will take a break after we've gone through some books of the Bible together, and we will pick up a really good book, and we'll sort of do like a little mini book club for a few weeks, and we'll read a couple of chapters every week on our own, and then we'll meet at the end of the week and talk about the things that stood out to us in the book. And it just turns into really great conversations. And of course, I always pick really, really good Christian material to use. So this book I have used quite a few times with young ladies. I love it. And I just am so grateful that God called Priscilla to write this book. Anyway, it really is about, like the title, A Life Interrupted, and how to navigate the unexpected. But what I love is that she uses the story of Jonah to illustrate the lessons that she's trying to teach. And it's so good. So here towards the end of the book, I underlined a few things. And one of them is this: when we obey, we are doing nothing more than entering a set of circumstances that have already been divinely placed in motion long before we arrived. It's a divine setup. And so what she was referring to here is that Jonah was called by God to go to Nineveh. And most of us know that story, how he didn't do it the first time, but then he got a second chance to do it again after spending some time in the belly of a fish. But anyway, the principle here is that God had already prepared the way for Jonah to deliver God's message to the people of Nineveh. And all he had to do was to obey. And when he did that, he was entering a set of circumstances that God had already placed in motion long before he hit the shore there in Nineveh, and it was a divine setup. And so when he went and he gave God's message, the people heard the message and they turned and they repented because they were at a place where they were ready. And further down on this same page, I underlined, God will show you where the needs are, and he'll show up before you can even get there, preparing the way for your arrival. And then on the next page, I underlined, Jonah was not supposed to go to the whole world. Go to Nineveh. God said. Go to the one place whose great needs God has opened your eyes to see. Risk your life and prepare yourself to do that which the Lord commands. Jonah was, after all, an individual. And an individual like we are, individuals with second chances. People who know what God has done for us and who know what his grace and saving power can do for others. So we obey and obey. We make our ongoing habit and pattern to obey. Then God translates our troubling interruption, his mighty divine intervention, into a holy strength that not only picks us up in the morning, but by his presence and anointing, also snatches up people in our homes and streets and towns and train stations, and I'm going to add, and raves, who are desperate for the same second chances that we got. Go to Nineveh, Jonah, and proclaim his message and expect something supernatural to happen. So I loved this so much because I could totally relate to it, because it was actually a divine interruption in my life that started this ministry 16 years ago, where we do this crazy out of the box thing where old people are going to share God's love at raves, normally a place where there's only young, cool, and hip people. But God knew that this generation is vastly unparented and that they are craving the love of parents and grandparents in their lives. And he knew that they have a lot of young, cool, and hip in their lives already, but what they're lacking is people our age very often. And so he sent us, and it just didn't fit the typical Christian, American Christian mold where you send the young people to minister to the young people. It was so out of the box, but we soon found out why, because we are so welcomed there. We don't go in judgment or condemnation, but we go in love. We speak the truth in love when we have the opportunity, and we are very well received. And I am not saying that every kid that goes to a rave comes from a lack of parenting. There's lots of kids we've met that have awesome parents, but the vast majority of the kids that we end up ministering to have a definite lack of parenting and grandparenting in their lives. Anyway, when this whole ministry was dropped on my husband and I, it literally was during an interruption in my life where God had me in a different place than I had ever been before, and that's when he showed me raves. And someday I'll share the whole thing. But what I'm trying to point out here now is that that when this was laid in our laps, this ministry, I always like to say God gave us a mission field on a platter, and we are in the early days, 16 years ago, when I would talk about this, I would say something like, God has invited me, or no, I'm sorry. I would say, I have been called to go to raves and I take Jesus along with me. And it sounded great, at first, until God really convicted me and he said, you didn't go to raves and then invite me to come. I invited you to go with me. I had already laid out the way. I had already prepared. I had already had you divinely set up to do this ministry. And so the words here in this book just have really come to life for me, that we didn't invite Jesus to go to raves with us. He invited us to go to raves with him, and he prepped everything in advance and invited us to accompany him. So I just wanted to encourage you to look at interruptions in your life as maybe a divine setup. Maybe God's leading you, guiding you in a direction that you didn't even know. I didn't even know raves existed when he invited me to go minister at raves. And there may be a situation in your life. Maybe it's a new job, a career change. Maybe you're starting classes at a new college. Maybe you've become a grandparent for the first time. Maybe you've had a child for the first time. All of these situations in your life may be calling you into a brand new ministry that you never knew before would be there. And I just encourage you, like these lines I read from this book, to just obey. Just obey. Just be where God has placed you and look for opportunities, because He has already been there. His fingerprints are everywhere. He's prepared the way for you. He's set you up. And all you have to do is knock it down. All you have to do is just obey and just share what God has given you to share, which is the very good news of the gospel. And if you obey, you just watch. He's going to do something amazing.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Smack Dab Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and check out our latest episodes.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smack Dab Podcast. If this has been a blessing to you, please consider helping us continue by making a donation to our sponsor at EngageToGoMinistries.com.